We're about to get. Oh, we can go ahead and get started. Good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order. I am Jace Robo Nabi Carey Jr., Chairman of the Community Police Oversight Board. We appear to have a quorum of our board, so let's get started. Excuse me. The time is 6 o'clock. Board members that are virtual, we need you to cut your cameras on. Board members, until you turn your cameras on, we actually do not have a quorum. Okay, board members that do not have their cameras on, we now have a quorum. However, as long as your camera is off, you're not considered present for the meeting. The mission of the Community Police Oversight Board is to enhance the public's trust that complaints of misconduct against departmental employees are conducted fair and thoroughly, are transparent, and ensure City of Dallas residents have an accessible means to the complaint process. Duties and functions: ensure fair acceptance and processing of external administrative complaints, review facts and evidence of a critical or external administrative complaint against a police officer, direct and monitor the Office of Community Police Oversight to initiate independent administrative investigation, engage in community outreach, accept from members of the public written complaints, take sworn testimony from witnesses, request the city manager to review disciplinary action taken by the chief of police, recommend to the city manager and chief of police improvements to departmental procedures, practices, training, and early warning systems. And now let's talk about board decorum. During board meetings, members, guests, and speakers shall preserve order and decorum and shall neither by conversation or otherwise delay or interrupt the proceedings nor refuse to obey the orders of the chair or the rules of the board. All members shall accord the utmost courtesy to each other, to city employees, and to members of the public appearing before the board, and shall refrain at all times from rude and derogatory remarks, reflection as to integrity, abusive comments, and statements as to motives and personalities. Per our adopted rules of procedure, for public comment, speakers will be allowed 3 minutes per person with some discretion by me as needed. Based on the number of speakers, the time may be adjusted from 1 to 3 minutes. Public comment will also be taken near the end of the meeting for those who are not able to speak at the beginning. However, you can only speak once. Please understand our goal is to be productive and to have healthy and even spirited dialogue. To do so, we must adhere to those guidelines that I established. Excuse me. And with that, we will begin public comment. We have Dolores Phillips. And for public speakers, you get 3 minutes. When I say your time is up, that's not a warning for me to say it 2 more times. When I say your time is up, your time is up. All right, Ms. Phillips, you have 3 minutes once you start.
Dolores Phillips, 2421 South Carrier Parkway, apartment 1918, Grand Prairie, Texas. Chair, this is very damaging for CPOB, you, and also for OCPO Director and First Police Monitor Tanya McClary. Right now, the Honorable U.S. Attorney Garland is investigating presidents, subpoenaing presidents. On the record, Ms. McClary stated that she never lost anything of mine. You did receive emails with handouts. This CD is one of 3 that was first in the possession of Casey Thomas that proves an ongoing cover-up within a cover-up. The second possession of 3 CDs was in the possession of Ms. Tanya McClary that also proves with audio from and video, not audio, from 1400 South Lamar. Right now, DC 2106299, presiding Judge Stacey Williams is presiding over Dallas County, City Dallas being parties in the case, and Honorable Williams has her own lawsuit against the City of Dallas 311 CV 397. She prevailed in that lawsuit, didn't recuse herself, and the public has a right to know. Right now, 322 CV in federal court 0014, 322 CV 0014, 2 law enforcement, prior DPD Officer Brian Reiser, DPD Investigator Esteban Montenegro are battling each other in court after being unjustly fired by Dallas for less than what they mask. Honor McClary has a duty to be fair to citizens and to police. Honorable Chair, can you please listen so you can understand? Ms. McClary knows that there is a cover-up within a cover-up. This CD became lost in her possession when she said she never lost anything. Taylor Woods, who was here doing a great job, was used as a pawn because she allegedly found the CD in the back of a desk, but I allege that it was going to be kept had I not pushing them to return the CD. Right now, in the court of law, these are duplicates of what was stolen in the trial court DC 2106-299 with this same CD that proves it's an ongoing cover-up within a cover-up. So someone walked out the court with 2 sealed envelopes, exhibits, are in the possession of the court, confirmed by the court reporter with DPD 911 calls, body cam, video, FBI files, and I'm asking Ms. McClary to contact U.S. Attorney Honorable Garland and say that y'all should be investigated because you're not going to be fair, and you're not going to be fair to the citizens nor the police. Chair, can I share something with you?
Your time is up, thank you.
Can I have 2 additional minutes?
No, you may not. Your
Okay,
time
well,
is up, thank you.
but you know y'all under investigation.
Your time is up,
Okay.
thank you.
That's why Honorable Queso retired.
Your time is up.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Next, we have Daniel Rogers. How you doing, Mr. Rogers?
Good, good. How you doing?
Pretty good.
How's
You
everyone-
get 3
how's everybody
minutes
doing?
once you start speaking, okay?
Okay. I'm here today because I was unjustly racially profiled in the city of Dallas over here on Samuel Boulevard and Jim Miller. I was at the car wash, washing my car, when Detective Rodriguez and Detective Green came directly to my car and started engaging with me about criminal activity, specifically a controlled substance. I don't have anything to do with that. I don't know anything about it. Now, transpiring with that day was January the 18th. They arrested me for marijuana. Now, I got out on the 20th, and I was expecting to get my vehicle back from the department, but Detective Green has my car on hold still to this day. I've been up to the police station for 2 weeks in a row to get my car released. I haven't talked to Sergeant Perez. I spoke to Sergeant Thomas, and Sergeant Thomas said that he would get back to me. I haven't heard from him in 2 to 3 weeks. It's been up to almost 30 days since they've had my car. I need my vehicle so that I can go back and forth to work. I work for Dallas Cred, which I work for youth advocate programs. I'm an advocate for my community, which I live in 75216 over here at 3550 East Overton Road, which is now Valero's. They used to be the Village Oaks. But now that I'm there, I'm not able to carry out my duties with youth advocate programs, so they have suspended me because I'm not able to go to St. James. I'm not able to go to, the People's El Shaddai, and it's kind of putting a strain on my family. My sons are going to school late. I mean, and mind you, my son, he's in 6th grade, he goes to O.W. Holmes, and he's a straight A student. And so my second son, he goes to Elijah M. Peace, and he's a straight A student, but as of late, they have been going down in their grades because they have not been making it to school on time. And I'm wondering what kind of investigation could Detective Green be investigating when my car is sitting down here at the city pound? And that's unfair. I'm working with the community. I'm a first responder. I'm there before they get there. Even when they get there, I'm there with them, working with them, letting them know, hey, this is what's going on. If you have any questions, I'll let you know. And it seems like they've treated me like a criminal. They've tossed me to the side, and they've treated me like I'm selling drugs or I'm in the trap house or something like that, man. And it's so unacceptable when I'm working with the city to help make sure that the crime is staying down within the communities that I live in. And Chief Garcia, he's come out there as well, and he's very pleased with the work that we have been doing as far as keeping crime down, working with the community, working with the people that's there, and making sure that they know that they have resources. If they
Excuse me,
need-
Mr. Rogers, your time is up. However, I want to say this. What the work that you do with Dallas Cred, that's thankless work that you're doing. Violence interrupters are vital in not only ensuring that violent crime is down, but you're the first line in ensuring that a young man or woman gets a second chance before they actually need an official second chance. You come in and you can prevent a situation from getting to the point where police need to get involved. I know you called the office. Director McClary told me that you called the office on yesterday. Let's the two of you talk to see what can be done to help you with this situation. Okay?
Okay.
Do you have time to stay to the end of the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So she'll get with you at the end of the meeting. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Next is Ms. Priscilla Ray.
Mr. Chairman, it appears that she's not on the line, so we will check again towards the end of the meeting for that public comment section.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, can you come back down for 1 second? Is Mara Butler still over Dallas Creed?
No, he isn't.
Oh, he is?
Victor Alavias is over it now. He's
Okay.
the director.
Okay. But again,
I keep in touch with Mark Butler. I spoke with him last week.
no, he's a good friend of mine. Yes,
Yes, sir.
but all right, I just wanted to see if he was still, but again, make sure you fill out a complaint form so that that's the documentation we need, and then we'll see what we can do, okay?
Okay. Where do I get the complaint form?
It's on our website. I have your email address. I'll email you a link to the website.
Okay. Appreciate it.
So does he need this? So you don't have to stay unless you want to. She'll send you an email, you'll fill out the form, and then she'll contact you after the form has been completed.
Okay, so am I finished here? Or
Yeah, you finished,
do I
yeah.
have to stay to the end?
No, you don't have to stay to the end.
Okay.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right, board members, now we will take roll. District 1, District 2, District 2, all right. District 3, that's me. District 1, District 2,
District 2, Jonathan Maples, I'm present.
all right. All right. District 4,
Dr. Lauren Gilbert Smith, present.
District 5 is vacant. District 6 is vacant. District 7. District 8. District 9.
To Sanford, present.
District 10.
Alan Marshall, present.
District 11.
Arlene Steinfield, present.
District 12.
D. Wadsworth, present.
District 13. District 14.
District 14, Brandon Friedman, present.
District 15.
District 15, John Mark Davidson, present.
All right, we officially have a quorum. Happy Valentine's Day. I apologize for the fact that we're having a board meeting on Valentine's Day, but I did apologize in advance. But again, so let's try to show some love in the meeting. We can disagree without being disagreeable. And we will move on to the approval of the minutes. If you could review the minutes, and once you've had time to review them, if I could get a motion to approve the minutes.
District 15, John Mark Davidson.
D. Wadsworth, District 12, second.
There's a quick typo that needs to be corrected, so I'd like to add to D. Wadsworth's. It's on the item 1, it says approval of meeting minutes for November 15th, 2022. It should say December instead of November.
All right, so that's an amendment to the motion.
Okay.
All right. All right, so the way it would work, we would have to vote on the amendment first, and then we can go back to the original motion. So make a motion to correct the minutes.
Okay.
So make that motion. Then we'll need a second.
Sure. District 15, John Mark Davidson, I make a motion to correct item 1 on the agenda, call to order where it says November 15th, 2022. It needs to be changed to December 13th, 2022.
Lauren Gilbert Smith, second.
That should be January, right?
January meeting, we're approving the December minutes.
Sorry, January.
Supposed to be January.
Yeah, January.
So let's correct the motion.
You're going to make amendment to my amendment to change?
No, you go ahead and,
Okay, I'd like to make an
I
amendment
think we're about to get a point of order. Are we about to get a point of order?
to change to January 10th on the agenda.
Okay.
No, the meeting date was January 10th.
Right, so that's what the minutes are for the
And the
January 10th.
minutes were for December 15th.
No, those minutes need to be for the January 10th meeting. Those are the minutes for the January meeting.
Yeah.
No,
We're talking about the January.
these are the minutes for the December meeting.
The motion was to approve the December meeting minutes, or should be to approve the December meeting minutes. It says November. That's what the change is. It should
So,
Yeah, it should be
so wait a minute, hold up. So this is the February meeting.
We're approving the minutes.
For January.
Last month, you guys approved the December meeting.
Oh, right. So the minutes for the December, I apologize.
Yeah. So it was correct, it's December. So yeah, make a motion.
Hold on, let me look at it.
It says it correctly down here, it's just wrong in the title. Last month in January, you guys approved the December 13th minutes.
So we are approving,
Your minutes from last month.
so we're approving the January minutes. We're approving the January minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, not the December minutes. We already approved the December minutes in January.
Right, but the error is in. First line.
So there's an error in the first line and in the second line. No.
It should be December. Yeah, both.
No. There's an error just in the first line. The second line is fine. The second line is fine.
Yeah, correct.
No, you're right, it is December. Last month, you guys approved the December minutes. This month, you will approve
Right,
the January.
right. So it's so,
December.
yeah.
I don't know that we ever will approve the minutes.
Wait, hold on,
So it's just an error, I didn't change this to December. This should also say, it's just the heading. I always do the heading and then what happened. So this should have said December 13, 2022, instead of November. Because these are your meeting minutes from your January meeting. In January, you guys approved the December minutes.
right. Okay, got it. So, but again, we're approving the January minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's,
Yeah.
right,
The
got it,
typo.
got it, got it, okay.
It's a one typo, so in the paragraph, it's the right thing, in the heading, it says November, the paragraph, it says it correctly, December.
All right, here we go, let's go with it.
So I make a motion to change on that first line, approval of meeting minutes, change from November 15th to December 13th.
No.
December.
Yes, correct.
No, we're approving the minutes,
Second,
we're approving the minutes for January,
Yeah,
right?
we're approving the minutes from January, but he's correcting a typo within the minutes. He's approving the minutes for January,
Okay.
but he's correcting a line, an item in the minutes.
Yeah, we can't approve the minutes for January until we fix this typo that says December. It should say December, not November.
Do we have a second? Okay, all right, so any unreadiness before we vote on the first motion? All right, so we're voting on correcting the line in the minutes that lists the incorrect date. That's in the agenda. If you look at number 1, where it says approval of the meeting minutes for November 15th, we're voting to approve that change to the December board meeting date, December 13th.
December 13th.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now the original motion is to approve the minutes. Any unreadiness in approving the minutes? Yes.
we're approving the minutes with the necessary corrections.
Well, we just voted on that. Yeah,
As amended.
yeah. Well, the original motion was just to approve the minutes.
As
We
amended.
passed a motion to correct the minutes. So now we go back to the original motion to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Chairman, who did the motion and the second on the first amendment? I second. I think you did the original motion.
All right. Next action item, the Allen Pineda review and decision regarding independent investigation by OCPO Special Investigator Williams.
Good evening, Chairman and board members. Today I bring you Mr. Alan Padilla's request.
Mr. Williams, can you make sure your mic is on?
Check. Thank you. Today I bring to you Mr. Alan Padilla's case and is responding to, requesting that CPO review his complaint and investigation at our board meeting here. I will read the facts regarding Mr. Padilla's case, and then I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman. Check. The mic is working. Below are the facts regarding the case. Mr. Alan Padilla, incident type DPD, IAD, and PIU investigations. His case number is EC 2022-0978 and CN 2022-053. The incident date was May 28th. The investigation departments are Internal Affairs Division and the Public Integrity Unit. Mr. Padilla's allegations are inappropriate and unnecessary use of force. And the second allegation is failure to account for prisoner's property. I'll read the synopsis of the incident. The complainant states that officers used unnecessary force when detaining him and failed to account for a black box filled with quartz stones. DPD Internal Affairs Investigation Summary. Mr. Padilla alleged Officer Wright and Senior Corporals Boucher and Sadina, excuse me if I mispronounce your name, used inappropriate force during his arrest. Mr. Padilla states that he was tased twice, kicked, assaulted, and was handcuffed, and was lifted with his arms when he was escorted to the front of the residence. Based on conflicting statements, no video evidence, and lack of independent witnesses, this investigation was unable to prove or disprove the allegation that Officer Wright or senior corporals used inappropriate force during Mr. Padilla's arrest. Therefore, this allegation is classified as non-sustained. The second allegation Mr. Padilla is claiming, Mr. Padilla alleged that officers failed to account for his property when he failed to recover the black box containing quartz stones. Mr. Padilla stated Senior Corporal received a black trash bag containing a black box with quartz stones while he was escorted to the front of the property. Mr. Padilla stated that he did not receive the box of quartz stones upon retrieving his property from Baylor Street Property Room. Based on conflicting statements, no video evidence, and lack of independent witnesses, this investigation was unable to prove or disprove the allegation that officers Wright or corporals failed to account for Mr. Padilla's black box of quartz stones. Evident manager documents that Mr. Padilla's property was deposited to the property room and later released to him, including the black trash bag said to contain the box of stones. Therefore, this allegation is classified as not sustained. Chairman, I yield it back to you, sir.
Is that all of the information that the office is going to present?
Yes, sir. All the information has been sent to board members on Ms. Padilla's case. Yes,
Okay, all right. Do any board members have any questions? Right now, what we will be discussing is whether we feel there needs to be an independent investigation or not. Any questions from any board members?
I have a question. So we don't know whose residence it was.
No, ma'am. No.
Is ID present? It was not, that was not his residence.
Well, any and all questions about this can be answered by ID. They're online right now.
Okay.
So we have,
Who's online for ID?
two lieutenants and
Major Alanis or 7.
Major Alanis.
Major Alanis, are you on the line? Good evening.
Good evening, sir. We're here.
All right. Dr. Lauren Gilbert Smith has a question.
Good evening. Do we know whose residence it was? And do we know if the quartz was retrieved from the residence?
We do not know whose residence it was. And as far as any quartz being retrieved, we did not have any. I don't believe our officers located any.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The residence, we do not know whose residence it was.
Do we know if the quartz was retrieved from the residence?
We do not have any documentation of any quartz being retrieved by Dallas police officers.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, board members, just to level set, the gentleman, this was not the gentleman's home or property. He was on someone else's property at the time that this happened. Just to be clear. Any other questions from board members?
Chairman, I have a question. My question is, it shows the incident date is May of 2019. That's almost 4 years ago. So do we know why there was such a delay in filing this complaint?
No, ma'am.
Chair, in the packet that we received,
it appears that there was body-worn camera at one point in time, but because the time had expired from between when the incident occurred and when you actually had a complaint filed with IAD, that it had already been erased. There were, in some of the different statements from the officers, they were talking about seeing this individual in several different properties, and so the statements from the complainant as well as the police are dramatically different. Do we know where the 911 call, Major Alanis, do we know where the 911 call originated from that brought the officers to that location? Was it one of the homes that he was alleged to have been in?
Yes, so we're looking at there was an address, I don't know if I can get specifics online out here, but there was a residence address on Marsh Lane where a 911 call came in from. And that location did not belong to Mr. Pineda.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Marshall?
Mr. Williams, is there, if we were to vote for an investigation, is there any potential of developing information that's going to give us more than what we have from the officer statements and Mr. Pineda's complaint, given the fact that it's almost 4 years ago?
I would think that the pertinent information would pretty much come to the top.
Okay. Thank you.
Any board members online, any questions? Board members in the chamber? Okay. So I will ask for a motion for independent investigation. Again, I'll ask for a motion for independent investigation. One last time, I'll ask for a motion for independent investigation. Okay, we will move on to action item 2B, discussion and report from CPOB annual report ad hoc subcommittee. Myself and the CPOB annual report ad hoc subcommittee chair, Mr. Marshall. So the ad hoc subcommittee met on January 10th, 2023. At a January 10th, 2023 board meeting, I led a discussion about the CPOB annual report. And at the end of the discussion, I created an ad hoc committee to develop a plan for the publication of that report. The members of the committee are myself, Chairman Friedman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. Smith, and Ms. Wadsworth, Chairwoman Wadsworth, I believe. Not yet. Not yet. You're going to be one. I'll talk to you offline about that. And so the chairman of this committee is Mr. Marshall, and I'll turn it over to him to discuss the ad hoc committee meeting that took place on January 17th.
Thank you, Chair. So we had our meeting on the 17th. We went through a number of different categories that we all felt would be important. Thought it was a good conversation, and as you can see there on the action item, the recommendations, there was a lengthy conversation about whether or not this should be one single report to get everything up to date, or we should have 3 individual reports. I think the consensus was we just needed to get the report out as quickly as possible. And so As you can see there, the certain items to be covered, the number of independent investigations requested by the community, the number of independent investigations voted on by the board, the number and content of CPOB recommendations from the investigations to DPD, number of recommendations from investigations accepted by DPD, number and content of policy recommendations to DPD, number of policy recommendations accepted by DPD, community engagement by the board, training done by the board, and ride-alongs by CPOB members. We had sent this out, or the director had sent this out immediately after this meeting in hopes that if anybody from the overall board had some additions, had some concerns, had other things that they felt was necessary to have, that we'd be able to have that conversation now and approve a plan so the director can move forward and have this completed as quickly as possible. So I'll open it up to anybody who has any comments, recommendations, questions, concerns, so we can proceed.
Any questions, board members, from the recommendations for the content of the CPOB annual report?
And sorry, just as a reminder, this is our report as a board. There is a separate report that talks about what the office is doing. So this is strictly about what the board has done. And again, there's a separate report that details what the office is doing.
Any questions from the board? Any from board members on WebEx? Okay. Also, there's an attachment that has the template for the annual report. This is the template that all commission boards use for the city of Dallas. But, so if there are no questions, or there are any comments before I ask for a motion to approve the ad hoc, to approve the CPOB report format and contents. So there is a section in the proposed, there's a section of the report for 2023 proposed objectives and accomplishments. So we will need to discuss these items. This is something that if board members are not prepared to discuss today, we can push that to next month's meeting. I can still work on. I have a piece of the report that I have to do. I have to write kind of a introduction piece, so I'll be working on that. But we can focus on objectives and accomplishments. I can come back next board meeting with my ideas of those objectives and what we hope to accomplish, and hopefully we can incorporate your ideas as well if board members are fine with that. All right, so that being the case, I would just need a motion to approve the format and content of the CPOB annual board report. No, I'm just looking. Anyone can make the motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve this recommended template and the items which are listed in the memo from our director, that we include this for our board report covering the multiple years.
Lauren Gilbert Smith, second.
Mm-hmm. Is there any unreadiness or questions before we put it to the vote? Director McClary.
I don't think you can do a multi-year report and I will check this with the boards and commissions office, I think they have to stand alone. So I think there'll be a 2022 report, then there'll be a 2021 report, and then a 2022. So when I went and did the research, the annual reports are listed by year. So I will verify with them if you can do a multi-year, and can let you all know, but it looks like boards report out yearly. So I'm just saying, I don't think it can be all in one report. I'm not saying we're not going to do it, I'm just saying I think we have to break them up and make them 3 different reports.
I wanted to do it that way, so I'm great with that.
Well, so that was kind of the discussion that we had in the last meeting about that. No one in the city was able to confirm whether we could do it that way or not.
I didn't ask, Chairman, because to be honest with you, I wasn't sure if you cared. I thought you just wanted them completed. So I didn't know that you wanted them packaged in one report. You just wanted the information packaged out. So I will verify that when I've done further research, and we'll get to that item about your webpage, I do not see people submitting multiple. That doesn't mean you can't do it. I don't know. I will verify that. There's now a new senior person that is doing work with boards and commissions. So they've hired somebody specifically to work with boards and commissions, so I can check with her and find out. Is that your preference, that they be packaged as one? Or if you can just let me know, that would be helpful.
So we've already voted to package the report as one. So that's something we've already voted on. So we would just need to know if that can't take place.
Who was the second on the motion?
I think it was Dr. Gilbert Smith. So any other questions or concerns before we move to the vote? All right, we will do a vote by district. District 2. Can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Now.
Got you.
Thank you.
District 3, myself, yes. District 4,
Yes.
District 9,
Yes.
District 10,
Yes.
District 11,
Yes.
District 12,
Yes.
District 14,
Yes.
and District 15.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. And we will have this item on the agenda for next month to talk about whether it'll be 1 report, 3 reports, talk about objectives, things of that nature. All right, next agenda item is 2C CPOB co-sponsored OCPO events in response to the death of Mr. Tyree Nichols, Director McClary.
So the office is planning 3 events in response to the death of Tyree Nichols. I asked the chair if we could put this on the agenda to see if the board formally wanted to co-sponsor all of the events, none of the events, one of them, 2, et cetera. So I will explain what the events are, and then the chair will open it up for discussion. So this coming Thursday, along with the Office of Equity and Inclusion and Councilman Casey Thomas, District 3, we're having a night of community healing. Also, the National Black Police Association Dallas chapter is also a co-sponsor of this event. This event is just what it says, a night of healing. So this is not a town hall meeting. There are not going to be talkbacks. And so the vision for the event is we're creating a space where community members can literally come and just talk about how they feel about Tyree Nichols and police brutality. So there will not be any type of, people giving speeches. So the vision is that we will have someone that is working with people on breath work. We are in conversation now with a psychologist that will come and talk about secondary trauma. And so why is it that something can happen in a Minneapolis or something can happen in Memphis, but we feel it here deeply in Dallas? And so talking about secondary trauma and some things that you can do when you feel this in your body viscerally. We're also hoping to have somebody that can come and do breath work and movement with the participants to really help them try to figure out how to just release their emotions and tensions. And then we're going to be breaking up into small groups that will be facilitated, and we're going to be doing restorative circles. So these are circles where there will be officers and community members really talking about their feelings. So it's really literally about a night of healing. So there's not going to be any keynotes and back and forth about this policy or that policy. The vision of this is to really try to create a space where community members can just come and be themselves and talk about how they feel about what has happened. Then on Sunday, we're doing a candlelight vigil for peace, unity, healing, and accountability. And so that's going to be down here on City Hall Plaza, and it's an interfaith prayer vigil. And so we have teamed up with the Thanksgiving Foundation, Project Unity, the National Black Police Association, and we have a fill out to a couple of more people, and it is a prayer vigil. And so I've asked the police department to provide us with some chaplains as well. I think that we should always include the police in these kind of events when we're trying to talk about work in the community and peace. And so it is literally that it'll be interfaith. So we will have some Christian folk, we will have some Jewish folk, we will have some Muslim folk praying. And so it is that. And we may have, somebody say a few words in between some of the prayers, but it really is kind of an old school. I think it's probably been a long time since we kind of held a candle and just really talked about how we can bring peace and unity. And then on March the 2nd, this is kind of more your traditional what you think about town hall, where I'm hoping that Chief Garcia or a very high-ranking member of his staff, if the board signs on, then hopefully the chair and others would actually come and we would probably have a few community members there as well. And this is where people will be dialoguing about whatever their concerns are with the police department, whatever their concerns are with the community. And we will also hopefully have, during that session, a time for people to kind of break out and come back with some ideas and some suggestions that we can work towards. And so this is kind of our first attempt at some things like this, so we don't know how they'll go. But I just felt really, I felt like we were a little behind when George Floyd happened, and then Breonna Taylor, and so this is our opportunity to try to get out in front and also to try to do what this has been envisioned to do, right? Bridge the gap between the police and the community. So we are very busy. We participated in an event last night, and we'll talk about that later on. But those are the three events that I'm hoping that the board would consider co-sponsoring. If that is the case, we would have your logos placed onto the flyers that will go out to the media and to the community.
What time do these events take place? Like, for instance, February 16th?
They're all of them at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. Jonathan Maple, District 2.
Sorry, we can barely hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, Mr. Maple.
Yeah, I was trying to those dates are Thursday the 16th, Sunday the 19th, and Thursday the 2nd. All at 6 p.m.
Yes.
And the meeting on March 2nd, where's it going to be?
The 16th and the 2nd, there's going to be at Thurgood Marshall Recreation Center.
Okay, and the 19th is at City Hall?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board or comments? Yes, sir, Ms. Davis.
Do you have any flyers already that we could disperse, that you could email to us?
I have a flyer ready for the 16th, but I let them know that the board would be voting, so we're holding those, because if you're going to be a part of it, then we're going to add the logo for the board. But the other two are in creation, the one on the 19th and the one on the 2nd.
Director, you talked about, are we sponsoring, are we just attaching our name to it, or I mean, what all is the ask? Is we just want to attach our names to all of them? Are you wanting, I mean, I guess I'm asking what is it you're asking for? Because I think they're all wonderful opportunities, but what is it that you're asking for specifically?
Can I say something, Director? So, when George Floyd happened, as many of you know, it was during the pandemic, city was shut down, board couldn't meet. So we basically could not do anything. We couldn't hold any type of events to allow the community to engage and express themselves and things of that nature, which I was strongly against, as the city manager will remind me. But we're in a different place now, but we're still back to the same issue. And unarmed young man just like brutally beaten by the police. And I think we have an opportunity to be something that the community needs. And so with that, the director is asking us to be a co-sponsor, am I correct? A co-sponsor for all three events. So the board name would be on the events, and we would hope that board members will be able to attend. Now, I can't mandate board members to do anything, excuse me, but it would be great if there could be a board presence at all three of these meetings. I know you may not be able to make it to all of them. You might only be able to make it to one. But if we can have a board presence at these three events, that would go a long way towards letting the community know that we don't just come in and sit at board meetings, that we're actually here for them. So long story short, yeah, we will be the co-sponsors for all three events.
And as the chairman said, I would love to put you guys to work. So the vision for the 16th and the 2nd is to have small group sessions. So if any of you are available, I would love to have some board members help lead some of those small groups. I'd be very actively involved. But as the chairman said, even if you can only just swing through for a little bit and just share your face or whatever, I always want to acknowledge our board, let people know who you are, and stuff. So yeah, so you could be as active or as inactive as you want.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
I can be present for two of them, the 19th and the 2nd, as far as I know.
Director, could you send out a poll for the board members? That way you would be able to track who will be there for what, so that you can kind of plan for it. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Yeah. She wants the locations. When you put it out, make sure you put the locations on there.
Thank you.
Director, in addition to these, which the office is co-sponsoring, we also the board received an email from the Thanksgiving Square Foundation about the March 9th Together We Dine event to be held at the African American Museum. And I participated before in the Together We Dine event, and I intend to go to that. And I encourage other board members to attend.
And that invitation should have gone out to all of you.
It did.
I talked to, because this is one of the events when we get to community engagement that I'm hoping, if you all enjoy it, that you would bring that to your district. So I've already talked to Project Unity about potentially doing one of these in each of your districts, or maybe a couple of you want to get together and do one in your district. So anybody that can come out, if you haven't experienced them, I think it would be good. And so, it was canceled because it was a week of the ice storm, so they rescheduled, and I think they sent an email back out to all of you at my request, asking for you all to come and join them.
All right, board members, if there are no questions or comments, I'll ask for a motion for the CPOB to be a co-sponsor of all 3 events.
Alan Marshall, District 10, so moved.
Arlene Steinfeld, second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second that the CPOB will be a co-sponsor for all 3 events, the February 16th, a night of community healing at the Thurgood Marshall Recreation Center, February 19th, Candlelight Vigil for Peace, Unity, Healing, and Accountability at City Hall Plaza, and March 2nd, Conversations to Move Dallas Forward at the Thurgood Marshall Recreation Center. We will, again, I will do individual votes. District 2?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. District 3, myself, yes. District 4?
Yes.
District 9?
Yes.
District 10?
Yes.
District 11?
Yes.
District 12?
Yes.
District 14?
Yes.
District 15?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, board. This was something that I was really hoping that the board would support. And thank you, Director, for doing the work to get these 3 events organized. This is exactly what I believe is needed.
I have another question. This is Jonathan Maples, District 2.
I'm sorry, Mr. Maple.
Yeah, I had a question. The time is not on our side with these events. I'll assume, can we expect a flyer?
The time for each event is at 6 o'clock. Director McClary is going to send out a doodle poll that'll have the time, date, and location so that board members can vote on which events they will be able to attend. And the director is working on getting the flyers completed for the February 19th and March 2nd event because she, excuse me, she wanted to wait to get the board's decision on whether they wanted to be a part of it. Right now, the only flyer she does have is the February 16th flyer, correct? So she can send out that February 16th flyer. The other 2 will be sent out as soon as she gets those created.
Thank you.
And the hope is that I'll send you all the 16th tonight, but I'm hoping that I can get with communications first thing in the morning to have you guys added on there. But it is ready, and so I will send out what we already have, and hopefully can get you guys logo on there tomorrow morning.
All right, next agenda item is action item D, OCPO and CPOB working closely together, defining that relationship. So the OCPO and the CPOB were designed to work together to bring true oversight to the city of Dallas. The board and OCPO Director McClary will discuss ways that this relationship can be strengthened. This discussion was slated to happen at the annual retreat on January 28th. However, due to time constraints, the board voted to move this discussion to today's meeting agenda. So I will kick off this conversation with Director McClary, and then there'll be time for dialogue with the board members. So I guess I will go forward with my ideas, and then Director McClary, I will turn it over to you. So when I envision the OCPO and the CPOB, these are 2 separate entities. However, they are intertwined together, meaning that both entities have similar powers, meaning that the CPOB has the power to make to make recommendations to police policy. The OCPO also has that power as well. The CPOB has the power to vote on independent investigations that would then be directed to the Office of Community Police Oversight. Well, the Office of Community Police Oversight also has the power to do independent investigations. We are tasked with community engagement. The office also is tasked with community engagement. Now, there's one very important difference between the two. The CPOB are not employees of the City of Dallas. We're volunteers. And the OCPO are employees of the City of Dallas. So, that being said, there's some things that the OCPO can do that we can't. The OCPO can log in, well, Director McClary can log in and pull data and things of that nature, can sit in on reviews of cases to determine whether they will be, those complaints will be investigated or not. She can go to crime scenes. She can go to scenes where there's been a death in custody or use of force with bodily harm. She can go to those things. She can monitor those things. Of course, we can't cross the line. We are civilians, so we as individual members or as a collective body cannot do any of those things, but the director can brief us on those items as well. So that's just to give you a difference of how it works. Now, how does it work together? So I've been thinking about some ways, meaning like community engagement. We should be working together on community engagement. I think that the 3 items that Director McClary recommended, those to me are perfect ways of the board and the office working together. And there are 3 different events. There's one event that's just talking about healing. There's a second event that's focused on faith. And then there's a third event, okay, let's talk about these issues and come to some collective agreements on potential solutions. That is, I cannot think of a better way for the 2 entities to work together. Now, there are also some administrative things that we have to do, meaning we have subcommittees, but in order for the subcommittees to actually have work to do, we have to get that work. A lot of that work comes from the office, and right now, there has not been a lot of work for the subcommittees other than the policy subcommittee, the report ad hoc subcommittee. But we have to find ways to get those committees engaged also, and that's where the 2 of us working together, the board and the office, can work to get those things done. And now I will shut up and I will turn it over to Director McClary.
I mean, I think what the chairman said makes a lot of sense, that, I always try to think of, even though we are separate, I do kind of think of us as the oversight for the city of Dallas, and so always trying to figure out ways that we could work better together. So I think in terms of just as we go forward in this year, it's just kind of getting clear on just kind of expectations and things of that nature. We have a very small staff, all of which have full-time jobs besides doing work for the board. And so just trying to manage expectations. I know that, there's been some things that have kind of dragged on, probably from this board's perspective, like the review of the policies and things of that nature. And so I think, how do we start to have real conversations about capacity and what the board and the office can do or can't do, so we can start to meet expectations, I think is also important, because it doesn't look good, to have something on an agenda for 5 months because the office hasn't been able to accomplish it, not due to will, but just due to lack of resources. And so I think that one of the other things I want to talk about is how do we complement each other? I think that a lot of the things didn't happen. To be honest with you, always looks like it's the fault of the office. And so as a director, I take that very seriously because you all are volunteers and we are staff. So when things don't happen, I think the automatic finger points at the office. So I'm trying to figure out, are there ways that we can still be accountable to this board without always having the office seem to have egg on its face about things it hasn't been able to accomplish. And so I don't know how we manage those conversations, Chair, but I think that, those kind of conversations are important as well, because I think when people don't have faith in the office, it trickles over to you guys, and when people don't have faith in the board, it trickles over to us. So I think the more that we can work together to ensure that we're always putting the best face forward, I think would be helpful as well.
Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
How are we coming in restaffing that office? Because we've been hearing that now for a while.
Well, Taylor just left in December, so we are going to be doing interviews for a complaint intake specialist, hopefully at the very beginning of March. And so that's kind of where we are. We're doing work for the executive assistant. Those interviews will probably be hopefully the last week of February. That person will then take over as the board liaison, so that'll be your primary person for the board going forward. So I think probably by the end of March, we should have those positions staffed.
You said Taylor left in the summer?
In December.
December, okay. Okay.
Any other questions, board?
I don't necessarily have a question. More of a, is it given our resources, is it possible that we started to bite off more than we could chew when it came to, we had a lot of things happen right as you got here, from the very get-go with the pandemic, and then George Floyd and the riots and everything else, Breonna Taylor, all of these different things that have popped up, and we had talked about use of force policy and the rioting policy and all that. These were huge lifts on top of doing the blocking and tackling of taking complaints and doing those investigations and everything else. And so it feels like with the limited resources, especially, now that you're down to 3 and you're waiting hopefully in the next couple of months to be back to 4 or 5, that it feels like we huge ideas and wanted to do a lot, and it just was like those were the use of force policy and the protest policy those aren't small projects. Those aren't, hey, we're gonna go over to the next month and we'll talk about it at the next meeting. That's a very, very lengthy process that has a lot of very, very substantial moving parts that aren't just encompassed in our 2 organizations. And so I think maybe the expectations were set too high that all of a sudden, hey, we can take on 2 of the most substantial issues that we're facing, and we're going to be able to knock those right out. And that's just not a reasonable expectation. So, and I know you were trying to do as much as possible with the internship program, and unfortunately, that's only a temporary, that's a stopgap to have that little extra manpower for a little bit of time. But those are huge lifts, and I think sometimes the expectation that those things can be done quickly and efficiently and just, hey, we can come up with an answer just like that. It doesn't exist on a complex issue, and you try to tackle 2 really quickly with a lot of substantial issues happening nationally. And so I think maybe sometimes the outside perspective that, hey, this has been on the itinerary, or this has been on the calendar for several months now, and nothing's happening, and so nothing's being done. And I think that's probably not. I don't think it is very inaccurate that you're clearly doing a lot of work behind the scenes, but just because it keeps showing up on an item on our list doesn't mean that things aren't being done. And so maybe there needs to be a perspective change on what's going on in the background. Just because we come in here 10 times a year doesn't mean that things aren't happening on a daily basis. behind the scenes that you're, again, we're not talking about minor issues. We're talking about really two of the most substantial issues that Dallas has faced over the last several years. So just, again, I don't really have anything other than just kind of a comment on that.
Let me respond to that first. One thing I'll say is yes. That's a simple response. Now here's the complex response here. And my allergies are really killing me. So the perfect storm happened. So the board was created in 2019. The director was hired at the end of January. End of February.
Well, you're right, I was hired, but I didn't start till the end of
She was hired at the end of January. She came end of February. When the office and the board were created, there was this clean slate for the office. There were no policies, no nothing. The decision was that the director would come in and create her policies, things of that nature. And then the pandemic happened, and then George Floyd happened. And basically the city was shut down. I only believe at that time employees could even come into the city hall. They had to work from home. So there was a hiring freeze because of the fact that people were not out and about spending money. There wasn't a lot of tax revenue, so there was a freeze on hiring as well. And when we finally met, and I think this is kind of where the secondary trauma piece comes in, because of the fact that when we have all those things going on in other cities, people are going to want to know, what are we doing here? And so the idea was to be proactive. Let's go ahead and review the protest policy, especially with what happened at the bridge, meaning if the incident hadn't happened at the bridge, it might not have been a request to review the protest policy, but definitely use of force policy. And had the incident on the bridge not happened, might not even request the use of force policy either. But those things happen. So you got George Floyd, COVID, the protests here in Dallas, the bridge incident, and a director who's trying to find her footing. So it was, normally she would have been drinking from the fire hose, as they say when someone new comes into a role. But it was the fire hose in the midst of the perfect storm. And so, yeah, tsunami, yeah, she was trying to fill her cup with water from a tsunami. And so that's kind of the way things were. Now, the reason why the item is on the agenda is that's something that I stressed to Director McClary, is that in order for people to visually see that you don't have enough resources, is that we have to show them. And so that's the reason why that item is on the board agenda. And I know sometimes the director says I may, skull or whatever you said. And it's just, I want this review to be completed so that, because once this review is completed, there's going to be work that's going to be given to the policy subcommittee. There's going to be work that's going to be given to community engagement. There's going to be work that's going to be given to the data subcommittee. There's a lot of work that we'll get from that review being completed. That's the reason why subcommittees haven't had any work to do, because we haven't been able to get those reviews completed. However, one other thing I forgot, new police chief, and this is something that Director McClary shared with me that I didn't even think about. New police chief is hired, so now whatever work was being done on those reviews, he has to stop because the police chief is doing his own reviews of policy to make revisions. So we have to wait for him to finish so that she can then, because she wants to make sure that she has the most recent version to work from. So it's a real complex dynamic, and the fact that there are not enough resources does tend to play into it as well. But it is not the fact that staff isn't doing their job. It's not that. But if you say we don't have enough resources, but you never show it, how do people know that you really don't have enough resources? So that's kind of, it's a cycle where if you show it, then people are going to think that we're not doing our jobs, but if we don't, so it's something that, and the director didn't really agree with me having it on the agenda, so I was the one who kind of pushed to have it on the agenda so that it could be something visible. Now what we need to talk about, though, is maybe shared resources, maybe using some resources for the city to get some things done, asking the city manager to loan some people. Those are discussions that will have to take place at some point because of the fact that there's work that has to be done, and there's only so many hours in a day for a small staff to do it. But if there's work that still needs to be done, then that means that we have to get some additional resources to do that work. And we have to be creative, meaning it may not be hiring someone, but just getting someone on loan. When the office was first started, there were a lot of people that were on loan to help support us until the director was hired. I don't see why we can't do that again. We just have to have that conversation. And I honestly believe the city manager is more than willing to help because of the fact that he wants the office and the board to be successful as well. But we just have to have those conversations.
And I would just say, that one of the things I told the city manager, whenever I leave here, whenever my time is up or I get fired or whatever happens, I will always regret not talking about all the work that we do. So when I first started, literally 2 weeks after I started, the world went into a pandemic. So for the first 8 months of my job, it was me and a temporary staff person. And so the amount of work that we did was tremendous. That's when we did the video release policy. We were doing, so one of the things I will always regret is that I didn't have communications in my back pocket. I didn't have a PR person, because when I sit back and look at all the accomplishments, like some days I sit with my staff before Taylor left, when it was her and Kevin, and we like, wow, we've just done a lot. And I just think one of the things I'll always regret is not letting the world know all the stuff that this office was doing. And even if with the review, I did bring you guys a report, and I wasn't happy with it, because I think that when we're looking at the 8th largest police department in the country, we needed to do more research. So it was me that took on even more, because when we had our first law student, he did a review, and I wanted it to be more robust. I wanted to interview officers. So I'm the one that put more and more layers onto this, because it could have been wrapped up a year and a half ago with just that first report back, but I didn't feel satisfied with that. So now sometimes I kick myself in the feet. But I just want to put it into context for all of you that are listening and things, is that, so I see Major Alanis on the line. You see all these people on here tonight. She has her and 4 other staff people. Taylor Woods was one person. So when we meet every Wednesday. Let's say there were 30 complaints. Major Alanis can distribute those 30 to several people on her team. Taylor Woods had to review all 30 by herself, watch everybody on camera, read every document. So this is why I want to say, people, when they talk about what the board or the office is not doing, how can we compete with that? So on her team, she might have some detectives reading 5 of the 30, right? If there's 30, she might give 5 to 5 of them or 5 to 6 of them. We're looking at all 30. in the same time frame, from Wednesday to the following Wednesday, we have to get all of that done. And so this is what I'm talking about. So I think, so that's why I was a little upset when Bruce Orr got up and talked about, well, Fort Worth did all this. I was like, but you can't do it that way. You got to look at, are we talking about apples and apples or apples and oranges, right? And so we're being asked to do the same work of an internal affairs as an office with one person doing complaints. The same thing with Mr. Williams. They got several people, SIU, the shooting investigation, they do the shootings and deaths in custody. Then you got public integrity that looks at criminal cases. Then you have IAD that looks at administrative. We are looking at all of them with one investigator. He's looking at the same number of cases as one person.
And they have public relations too.
And they have a PR department. So when Chief Garcia last night, if any of you were there, I mean, he has a whole person, there's a PR person that just follows him around. I mean, I love somebody to write stuff for me to say or do whatever. And so what I'm saying is that I get a little frustrated. I'm not with you guys, but I think people just don't understand when they keep talking about the office is not doing. I'm like, we are so outnumbered, but we're asked to do the same amount of work. I can't show up at a Wednesday meeting and say to Major Alanis, hey, can we just do 10 of these this week? Because Taylor and I didn't get to read the other 20, right? Because that's not fair to the community. So we have to stay up all night. If you look at the hours my staff logs, nobody clocks off at my staff at 5 o'clock. If they do, they are going home and working. Like they are leaving, and we're texting each other 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, trying to figure out work. We're talking on weekends and stuff to get the stuff done. So it's just a little, frustrating when when we're expected to do so much with like literally very, very small resources. So that is one of the things I will admit to this board, and obviously the public that's watching, is that I just have not done a good job of talking about all the work that we have done with the resources that we have. So I want to give kudos to my staff and Taylor in her absence. I don't know if she's watching, but yeah.
I'd like to make an announcement that I think goes perfectly with what the director is saying.
Point of order. No, go ahead. It's not a part of this, but you go ahead. Yes. I'm gonna let you do this.
You already know what she's gonna say?
Our director is a trailblazer. We have not had a director in the city of Dallas prior to her arrival. And with that said, the South Dallas Business and Professional Women's Club is honoring her as a trailblazer in April. And by coincidence, I'm the chairperson of the Trailblazer Award Luncheon. It's the 59th award luncheon. We are a community service organization. We gave out $20,000 in scholarships last year at the same event. And I'm asking everyone to come and support the director. And I sent the information to our chair, and he can forward it to you. Thank you.
Now, everyone heard me say point of order for the record, right? Dr. Gilbert Smith cannot ever do a point of order for the next 12 months. But now to get back to the topic at hand. So one of the most important things, and this is something from my business standpoint that we have to do a better job of, is if we don't have enough resources to do the job, we have to be able to identify, if we had X number of resources, we could do X, Y, and Z. Because we don't have those, we can't do X. We have to be very, very specific with that, because of the fact that people, and when I say people, I'm talking about like the city manager, city council, whatever, they need to know specifically, well, and does that mean that we're gonna get more resources, more, not necessarily, it doesn't mean that, but we have to make sure that we're not, we can always compare, hey, Fort Worth does this, Southern City does this, you know, the police department has X number of employees. And those are all valid comparisons. And Director, I'm not trying to contradict what you're saying. But what I'm saying is for us, office, board, we have to be able to articulate on paper exactly what could be done with those resources and what's not being done because those resources are not here. And we have to be willing to ask for help. We got to be willing to say, hey, can I get a part-time, do you have any staff that can move over here and help with this? We have to be willing to do that because of the fact that then that also tells a story. If for 12 months you've had 2 employees on loan working 20 hours each a week, what does that mean? Oh, that means exactly, you definitely need at least 1 more person in the next budget. So say you have 3 people on loan or 4 people on loan. That in itself tells you, because you know what? You're already spending the money. So now, you know, let's just go ahead and make those positions permanent. So we have to be strategic with this. Excuse me. We have to be strategic with this in order to, because we have to tell the story. And that's all I have. But one thing I am going to ask, Director, we have definitely been coming up short when it comes to community engagement, and I'm going to ask the Director to work with City Council staff to try to schedule meetings within City Council districts and let board members know, hey, how does your schedule, what's your schedule looking like so we can do this in your City Council district? Because I think we're waiting on board members to do something, and for whatever reason, board members are not doing those things. And I think it's because of the fact that, I mean, that's a lot of work. I mean, and you don't know what you don't know. So if you've never planned a town hall or meeting with your city council district, then that's a daunting task. And I'm just going to ask the director to be a little more assertive in helping them with that, because I promise you, when I've worked with the director, when other board members have worked with the director to get town hall scheduled, all you had to do was come up with a concept, and she worked with the city council member staff to reserve the location and all of that type of stuff. So I'm going to ask her, I know that's another thing that I'm putting on her plate, but I'm going to ask her to work with board members to get that done.
And I was saying, we'll get to this when we get to that agenda item. I'm going to ask Board Member Sanford. So you guys can also do stuff other than town halls. So she and I just talked. It feels like a blur. I think it was Monday, and came up with something I think is really exciting. Although Board Member Sanford is on the same day as my luncheon that I just remember, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But I'm going to ask her to share with you guys what we talked about, and I know I've already been in contact too with Board Member Maples and the council staff, and he's planning to try to do stuff. But you guys can do some other stuff too besides town halls. But the bigger point that the chair is saying, just whatever your vision is, just contact me, and we will try to get it to happen. But when we get to that, I'm going to ask if she will share what we're thinking about doing in District 9.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a board meeting. I mean, it doesn't have to be a town hall. Exactly. Just however you want to engage your district. That's what I'm saying. It does not have to be a town hall. And that's why I said if it's a daunting task. So the director may be able to give you some ideas of things to do. Just work with her. She's done these things before, so I'm quite sure that she will be able to help you out in getting you on the right track. Any questions, concerns, or additional comments before we move on? Trailblazer. All right, we will move on to, we are at briefing item 3A, report on OCPO mediation program.
Hello.
Hello.
I'll read my mediation report. Our conventional, we talked about, in light of all that's going on in our environment right now, we've really had a lot of emphasis. We've talked about collaboration in the past and it being the optimum, but we really want to work to go just a little bit further in bridging the gaps between individuals, communities. Our conventional understanding of collaboration is that it requires us all to be on the same team and headed in the same direction, to agree on what needs to be done. In other words, we assume that collaboration must be under control. When we're working in complex situations with diverse individuals, stretch collaboration abandons the assumption of control. It enables us to get things done even in complex situations with people we do not necessarily agree with. Stretch collaboration requires us to make 3 fundamental shifts in how we work. First, in how we relate with our fellow collaborators, the other people that you're working with. Secondly, in how we advance our work. What is it that we're doing? The actions that we're taking. And third, in how we participate in situations in cases of trauma and discontent, we must show up and do more. As you know, the Office of Community Police Oversight Mediation Program has received several nominations for our Community Advisory Committee. However, we are still gathering additional nominations. The Office of Community Police Oversight Mediation Program uses committees to obtain independent expert advice on policy and process matters. The Office of Community Police Oversight Mediation Program seeks to include the views of women, men, members of all racial and ethnic groups, and individuals with and without disabilities on its advisory committees, and therefore encourage nomination still of qualified candidates from these groups. The advisory committees are established to provide feedback that supports the program's mission of mediation and promoting better communication between the Dallas Police Department and the community while meeting the requirements outlined in the city's ordinance. The advisory committees are established at the discretion of the Office of Community Police Oversight Mediation Program. A few of the action items that we've completed this month: the mediation program has successfully completed another Lemonade with Laurie. It was titled How to Work with People in Times of Disagreement When Collaboration Seems Both Imperative and Impossible. This was an amazing collaboration with one of our very own board members, John Mark Davidson. Thank you so much with District 15. The principles and teachings that were focused on during the webinar were undergirded with the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In celebration of his birthday. During this segment of the presentation, Board Member Davidson referenced 2 books. To keep the education going from the webinar, the mediation program will be giving away 2 copies of each of the recommended readings to participants that participated in that webinar. The flyer is in the packet. You can please take reference and read that. I also reached out and worked with the below offices, and I'll let you read those, to secure community nominations. That was the West Dallas Chamber of Commerce, the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce, the Thanksgiving Foundation, the Turtle Creek Corral, the Urban Specialist, for Oak Cliff Chamber, Greater East Dallas Chamber of Commerce, Dallas Regional Chamber, and St. Luke Community Church. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Any questions from board members on WebEx? Okay, thank you.
I just want to say I was really excited about the Lemonade for Lori, the flyers in you guys' packet. Board Member Davidson was so awesome. Him and Lori, actually, it was so funny how things just worked together. They didn't talk about their presentations, like what exactly they want to present, and the two of them talked about the exact same models and everything, so it just flowed like seamlessly, as if they just kind of prepared it all together. But I really thank him. It was during the week when we had all that ice and snow and everything was shut down, and I think we had close to 60 or 70 people at one point in time on the webinar, and despite all of that weather and stuff. So I really want to say thank him for that, and for Lori for doing that. We were going to have a come down and meet our office, but City Hall was closed because of all the ice, so we just did the webinar part, but it was really successful.
I think that was great on how Mr. Davidson was able to partner with you. I think it would be, if you're able to find other opportunities for other board members to participate, I think that would be great for, that allows for people to connect the dots to see that you and the board itself are connected as well, so they won't think that this is something that's set apart. I think you're doing some great work.
Thank you. And like Director McCleary said, it was really an interesting situation that I previously talked about collaboration and used a particular model in mediation. And this webinar was based on that same model, and without our previous communication, he was using the exact same model in mediation, so it's cool.
Yeah, Chairman, I just want to say it was an honor to share the stage with Lori. I'm going to put on my resume, Lemonade with Lori, because it was a huge honor to be a part of that, so thank you for the invite.
Okay, next item is our briefing item 3B, January 2023 officer-involved shooting, Joey Fryer, OCPO Special Investigator Williams, and OCPO Director McCleary.
Good evening, Chairman and board members. During the month of January 2023, there was one Dallas Police Department officer-involved shooting. OCPO attended the scene of the incident. This is the first officer-involved shooting of 2023. I will brief the board with the summary. On January 25th, 2023, around 12:30 p.m., Dallas Police Fugitive Unit officers were at 2500 Wilbur Street on an unrelated investigation. While on Wilbur Street, officers received a wanted persons bulletin and learned that a suspect wanted for capital murder out of Farmers Market was on the same block. At around 2 p.m., officers located the suspect, 18-year-old Joey Ferrier, on Wilbur Street, sitting in front of the passenger seat of the car driven by an unknown male. The fugitive unit member, Officers Gonzalez, Witt, Neal, Lucas, Hale, Hollow, followed the car for about an hour, allowing additional resources to respond and to find the location to arrest Mr. Fair. Officers followed the suspect to 2546 Bahama Drive, the Bahama Glen Apartments. At around 2:55 p.m., officers attempted to take suspect into custody in the parking lot, and a drone was deployed to assist officers. At around 2:59 p.m., as part of a high-risk apprehension, fugitive unit officers gave repeated verbal commands to deploy a distraction device, a flashbang, for the driver and Ferrier to exit the vehicle. The driver got out of the car and was taken into custody. The suspect refused to show his hands, exit the vehicle, or follow commands. And about 3:01 p.m., fugitive unit deployed pepper ball rounds. The suspect still did not exit the car. At 3:02 p.m., a sergeant monitoring the video from the drone operation announced over the radio that Ferry had a gun in his right hand. Also, at 2:03, a second flashbang was deployed, and Ferry was seen with his gun and fires at Dallas police officers at least twice. Officers returned fire, hitting the suspect multiple times. Ferry ran from the car and fell to the ground, dropping his weapon. Dallas Fire Rescue was called at 2:03 p.m. and at 3:02 p.m., and at 3:07 p.m., first aid was administered by fugitive unit officers until DFR arrived at 3:18 p.m. Ferrier was taken to a local hospital where he died from his injuries at 3:43 p.m. One fugitive unit officer was shot in the foot, and he was taken to the local hospital, treated, and released. The suspect's weapon was recovered at the scene, and the second weapon was recovered near the driver's seat during the search of the car by detectives. The second weapon was modified with a Glock switch. The investigation is ongoing and is being investigated by the Dallas Police Special Investigation Unit, SIU. The Dallas District Attorney Office was notified and responded to the scene and will conduct its own investigation. Office of Community Police Oversight was notified and responded to the scene. This investigation is still being conducted by DPD, and at this time, OCPO cannot do an official investigation into the case. However, OCPO is monitoring the work of SIU, IAD, and as they conduct their investigations. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Williams, are you going to show the video?
I'm sorry. Yes, I will show the video. My bad. Thank you.
The Dallas County District Attorney's Office was notified and responded to the scene and will conduct their own investigation. The Office of Community Police Oversight was notified and responded to the scene.
Mr. Williams, can you turn the volume up?
Yes, I'll do my best to do so, sir.
He has a gun in his right hand.
Under the car. At his foot.
Romeo 350. I've got shots fired, 2540 Bahama, capital murder suspect. He is down. I have plenty of cover. I need at least one ambulance.
He's coming. To your right, to your right.
Stand by, pepper ball.
Just keep walking back to me. Keep walking back to me.
Pepper ball coming out, so
Get your goddamn hands up! Get your fucking hands up! Get your hands up!
Yeah, I can't see him.
You guys want to on that side?
I can't see him.
You can't see it.
You cannot see him.
I see him. He's still moving around.
He's gonna be coming out here shortly.
I got your best lethal.
Are we good for another device? All right,
Yeah.
right hand is down.
Hold on, guys. Keep moving.
Hands up! Get on the ground!
Yeah, I got it. Hands up! Stop reaching!
Gun in the hand. Gun right hand.
Put your fucking hands up! Put your hands
Gun in his
up!
right hand. Everybody slow down. Slow down.
Relax. You're okay. It's on my left foot. It's on my left foot.
You have a tourniquet on you?
No, hang on. Just relax. All right, guys. I'm here. I'm going to try to get on myself.
Wait, hold on, guys. Hold on.
Get down. I'm all right.
Where you hit?
It's my left foot.
You got it where? Where's the gun?
Left foot.
So that officer was shot in the foot.
That is Pete.
Hands up! Hands up!
Get on the ground.
Yeah, I got it. Hands up!
That's something in the hand. Gun in the hand. Gun right hand.
Gun.
Put your fucking hands up! Put your hands
Gun in his
up!
right hand.
What's your guy, Neil?
He's down. Got one down. Hold up, he's down.
Hold on, guys, hold on. Hey, put your rifle down.
Everybody slow down.
Neil,
What?
get back. I got it.
Sergeant, take over.
Go back inside. Now.
Coming up.
Go back inside.
Hey, see what he just asked us. He said something about a gunshot.
Make sure nobody got hit upstairs.
Yeah, there's a shot right here.
They get a tourniquet on his leg.
Here's one on the arm.
I got this one on the arm.
DSR coming?
Yeah, they're coming.
You got a marker on you?
Hey. Yeah, I do.
You got plastic. I need plastic on the time when you get it. I need plastic.
Hold on.
Everybody in that apartment's good, Sergeant. Everybody in that apartment's good.
You got tape.
I gotta take over here. Yeah. Working it.
To the leg, right?
Yeah, he did the one on his left leg. Hey, I got a chest seal. On my back.
I need it. I need a chest seal.
I got a chest seal.
Yes. Shot this.
That's the end of the video. Back to you, Chairman.
Director, did you have any comments that you wanted to make before I open up for any questions for the board?
So this was just a sad situation. I said last night at this town hall, for me, a life is a life. So even though he was shooting at police, you know, we still honor him. And it was very sad because this young man was only 18 years old. And so, you know, it's always just for me, whether it's sworn or civilian, we lose a life. It's always sad, but to lose the life of a young person, an 18-year-old. So that's it for me.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Chairman? Okay, as I watched that video and I heard those comments, everybody slow down, Sergeant take over, Sergeant take over. There was so much rapid gunfire. What appeared to be so many officers and one assailant they were trying to arrest. It did seem like this particular unit, and I'm not that familiar with the fugitive unit, but it did seem it was an intense response. And also, the officer that was shot in the foot, I probably have to watch the video again because I couldn't understand the angle of that, the way he was shot in the foot going down, how that could have been inflicted by the assailant. So we don't have any other information because it's still under investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, it's still under investigation. So what we have is pretty much what we have. It's still under investigation.
It's quite confusing to me so far, what we have. And it is, the body cam is like cut and pasted, so there's only parts of it. You know, it's not the full body cam. I don't know what else is out there, but it's a tragic situation, and there was certainly, for this thing to go on for 3 hours, it was certainly an intense situation.
Chairman Freeman?
Just briefly on that, I would not assume that the suspect, that the officer was shot by the suspect.
Correct.
Any other questions, comments? Board members on WebEx? Okay. We will move on to briefing item 3C, DPD monthly arrest data. So board members, your arrest data was sent to you in your packets. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about the report? All I'm gonna say is if you have a warrant from another jurisdiction, don't come to Dallas. That's the highest number of arrests of all of the categories. But any questions from the board before we move on? All right, we will go to a topic that I'm pretty excited about, and that's briefing item 3D, and that was the CPOB website. And Director McClary, if I could. So I want to apologize to Director McClary because I typed up this email, what's going on with our website and all these others, and then I realized, wait a minute. So I deleted the whole email, and I sent you the email that I sent you because of the fact that I just happened to be looking, I was looking in other boards so I could see examples of their annual report. And the websites look totally different from our website. And I'm like, what's going on here? And so I was thinking, well, maybe we can, whoever did their website, they could do ours. And then, so I reached out to the director and she told me, what she's about to provide to you in this report. But even though I just thought it, I didn't even put it in writing. I still apologize, Director.
So in this fiscal year, October 1, as I told you all, they've hired, she's a wonderful person. They've hired a kind of a senior level person to work just with boards and commissions. So in fact, today we had a training on how to maintain your website. So hopefully that won't be me for very long. It will be the executive assistant, your liaison, but I'm really excited. So we are in line to get our webpage updated. I would encourage you to go to the site now and just see the other web pages. They're really nice and they're doing a great job. The hope is that yours will be completed by March, sometime in March. The new CPOB will be up. I will be able to upload. Today they taught me how to upload photographs and do all of that. So your photos will be up there, your council districts, a lot of things about the board. They talked to us about how we can put reports up and do all this kind of stuff. So I'm really excited. So we are in line. I had submitted some paperwork. They're just reviewing it all. You know, we had to give them what your mission was, your functions, all the kind of stuff that goes up, because certain parts of the website, they're going to create the whole thing. But then there's going to be certain parts that whoever the staff is that works with a particular board, in case of, obviously in you guys' case, it's the OCPO, how we maintain it and stuff. So we literally just had a full training on that today. And so I'm excited. I think it's going to be really nice. If you look at the ones that are already up there, they've done a really good job. So I think you guys are going to be really happy. It looks like it's going to be easier to maintain. So like, for example, when you guys have policy recommendations and things like that, it'll be easier to upload stuff and that kind of thing. So I'm excited about it. So let's look forward to it. Hopefully it might be done by your March meeting, but if not, it's slated to be done sometime, I believe, in the month of March. And so I'm excited. And so to that note, I'm going to probably need headshots from everybody. Several of you took headshots years ago. I can resend them to you to see if you still like them. If not, what I can try to do is, a couple of years ago, we had headshots done with our communications department. All the members of the board at that time that didn't have a professional headshot actually made an appointment and actually went and got their photos done. So if people want to do that again, the chairman can let me know and I can talk to communications, see if we can arrange a day or two where people can actually go and get your professional headshot and stuff. And also, just as an aside, we have a couple of new board members, so if you want business cards, you can also get those done as well. So I know I did business cards for most of you as well, but there's quite a few new members, so if you didn't know you could have business cards, we can get you those too. But so hopefully by the end of March, you guys will have your new website.
I was just about to ask you about if you could, since we do have some new board members, do new headshots, so there could be something. Maybe, again, we'll have to work on the timing and scheduling of that to see if we could try to get that done between now and mid-March, I guess. So maybe another doodle poll. We're gonna get a lot of polls over the next couple of days. Any questions about the website, board members? All right. That's something that I've been excited about because I've been pushing for that for a while, and I felt that it should be the city that does it, and so I'm glad that they are moving on updating the website because it does need to be updated. Next is briefing item 3E, update CPOB Chair and OCPO Director monthly meeting with DPD Chief of Police Eddie Garcia, myself and Director McClary. Director, our meeting is tomorrow, correct? Okay. So we have not met with the chief yet. So normally it would be on today, but it will be tomorrow at lunchtime. Do you have anything, Director? Okay. All right. We'll move on to update status of independent investigations requested by CPOB. And
So there's still only one right now, Diamond Ross. That case is still in litigation. However, the board chair did ask me to kind of give you a snapshot of the other things that are on Mr. Williams' plate. So right now, we are looking at 11 other cases for possible investigations. And so that's kind of what we're looking like right now in terms of investigations.
any questions from the board? All right, next is briefing item 3G, OCPO policy review, protests and use of force. Director McClary.
So I provided you all with a potential timeline, and given what Chair Marshall said, this may shift. So the one student that we lost. He had some conflicts with his schedule and wasn't going to be able to provide enough hours to do his externship. So I'm having to start over again and recruit. So I got with the director of recruiting. She just sent out a blurb last week to see if we can recruit some students. The good thing about UNT is that all of the law students have to do so many hours of community service or community hours, and so there's quite a few seniors that know they can't graduate unless they get it done. So she's trying to, I think her hope is that, obviously not because of the death of Tyree Nichols, obviously we want Mr. Nichols to be here, but because of that, there's a renewed interest even among law students about policing and stuff. So she's hoping that quite a few of the soon to graduate law students will knock down her door and want to help us with this project. So like I said, the blurb just went out, so I'm supposed to schedule to talk with her on Thursday to see how it's looking for the recruiting. If that's the case, if we can get these students in here, depending on how many we get, I'm hoping that they can just spend the bulk of their time focused on reviewing those policies and getting those interviews done, and also getting some information over to DPD to see about some of their written findings and stuff. If you all remember, there was an after action report done by DPD that talked about all these things they were going to do in the wake of all the protests. And so we want to get some formal responses from them about what things have been done or they're not going to do, et cetera. And then so if it all goes as planned, but we know sometimes it gets a little crazy, hopefully we will be able to present to you in April. But if things are shifting, I will let you guys know that. But this is hopefully what we're looking at.
Dr. McClary, have you reached out to S&E by chance?
No, but if you can put me in contact with somebody, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll put you in contact with the Director of Career Services.
Oh, great. Thank you, Board Member Sanford. That would be great.
Any other questions or comments? All right, next we will go to briefing item 3H, update on OCPO community engagement activities, OCPO Director McClary.
Right. So we covered a lot of this in your action items when we were asking for their co-sponsorship, so I'm not going to go over those parts of it again, but you will see the flyer for the event. We didn't sponsor this event last night. It was actually sponsored by Project Unity and some other ones. But we were there last night, and so there's a copy of that flyer there. It was very spirited. Even our city manager came out. We had other members of the faith community and other community leaders, so it was a very spirited discussion last night. And I think it was interesting to add the sheriff in the mix so that she was able to come and talk about the sheriff's department and this type of thing. So your very own director was there holding it down for oversight. But I made sure that I talked about the board. I always let people know Dallas, as I always say, the 1-2 punch. They have the office and the board, and it was really interesting. I was really proud, to be honest with you, because of the discussion we had with Chief Garcia, and all the discussions we had about officers, but literally several officers came up to me and was like, "You did a really good job." I was really surprised, to be honest with you, and I saw a lot of them and greeted them and kind of made light of it. I said, now do y'all see what we do? Are we really that scary? And so I actually ended up after the event, literally in a parking lot with about 10 DPD officers, just kind of talking about the office and the board and what do we do and things of that nature. So even though that's kind of anecdotal, in terms of, I just think that when officers actually really hear from us, which is what the chair is hoping when you guys get out in the communities, I'm like, are we really that scary? I'm like, come on. And we had a really good turnout, and so I'm really happy about that. A lot of people are excited about potentially getting you guys out in their communities. I heard there were several leaders from like different neighborhood associations. They were like, we need you to come out and talk to our associations and stuff. So I'm just really excited, I think, about, you know, the office and the board kind of getting out into the communities and meeting people and stuff. And so it was a really good event. We did have some, I guess you might call them hecklers in the crowd. It got a little tense at one moment, but overall, I think it was a really good effort, and I'm really happy that Project Unity, I pulled the oversight into that perspective, because I think a lot of people didn't understand exactly what the office and the board does. But the other thing I want to highlight for you all, and there's a flyer in here both in English and Spanish, is that, you know, one of the things that I'm trying to do, which is why I'm excited when you guys hear from Board Member Sanford, or what she's trying to do, is try to think of events where people might come out for them, but maybe not come out for them because they're about police oversight. So in last year, and I know the chair came by, Board Member Wadsworth came to the NACO conference. One of the keynote speakers one night was Miss Opal Lee, and I think all of you know her as the mother of Juneteenth. We credit her with, you know, really getting this to be a national holiday. And so she came and spoke at NACO, right? She came and spoke to all these oversight practitioners, and I think the chair was there tonight, and so was Ms. Wadsworth. And so the office developed a relationship with her. So I decided for Black History Month, let's bring her in, right? Even though she's the mother of Juneteenth, right? She understands the issues of policing and all of that. And so I pulled together some partners in that, the Office of Equity and Inclusion, the Office of Arts and Culture. And so as you see on the 27th here in the lobby, I hope that some of you will come out. We are going to have our Black History event, and we're going to have remarks from Mayor Pro Tem Carolyn King Arnold and our own city manager, T.C. Broadnax. And so I'm really excited. So I'm hoping that people that may not come out to like a board meeting or a town hall about policing will actually come out to hear Opal Lee, but they will learn about what we do, right? And so I'm really excited about that event. And so it will be February the 27th. So this is sandwiched in between those other 3 events that I told you guys about. So our staff is running around really crazy, but I'm really proud of, proud of this event. And so that'll be on February the 27th. And then looking forward, speaking of UNT, when they heard about all these different events that the office is doing, asked me about partnering. So I'm actually hoping to do something at UNT Law School maybe in March for Women's History Month. And so I'm thinking about trying to figure out how to just make these different partnerships for the board and the office. And so the women of the board, I'm looking at the women of the board on the line or in the room. I'm really excited about trying to see if we could do something about the women of oversight or something. I'm still trying to think about it, featuring all of our wonderful board members. And so stay tuned, ladies, for hopefully something in March featuring us. So yes, that's it.
So if you have not met Opal Lee or seen her in person, you're in for a treat. I would advise everyone on the board, if you can, to stop what you're doing and come to that event on February 27th. She is a true gem and a treasure. I've had the opportunity to meet her at the NACO conference, and I've also had the opportunity to participate in her annual Juneteenth march. And I'm glad that last year, it was extremely hot outside, so I'm glad that she participated in the comfort of a air-conditioned SUV as opposed to marching with the rest of us. But just listening to her talk about her perspective on things, and I'm just going to close with this. We were taking pictures, and she was sitting down, and I bent over to take the picture with her, and she told me, "Don't bend, stand tall, son." And when you hear words like that, she's not just talking about the moment of us taking this picture. So I implore all of you, if you can, February 27th at 6 o'clock, this is a partnership between the Office of Community Police Oversight, the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and the Office of Arts and Culture. Awesome opportunity to come out. And I would love to see more collaboration, because I think we can talk about, especially art and equity and inclusion. Those are spaces where we can talk about a number of different things that impact us all. And I think, and there are creative ways in order to discuss those things, especially when art is included. So I would implore everyone to come out. Any comments?
Mr. Chairman? Director, do we have this Black History Month event with Opally? Do we have that where you can email that flyer to us? If you would, I would post it to my homeowner association and also pass it out at the town hall.
That would totally be awesome, because it's in the lobby of the building, but there's a capacity, so any of you that are interested, please RSVP. Apparently people are already starting to really fill it up. I'm asking them to kind of hold 15 spots for you all, but please RSVP for that night.
What is that? What was that date and time again?
February 27th from 6 to 8 in the lobby at City Hall. And so we are going to be providing food. We're doing a full buffet dinner, and I'm really excited. My staff, Mr. Williams is in charge of the food, Ms. McKendall's in charge of all the decorations. So the OCPO is extremely busy. I don't know how we're all sleeping, but and I was really excited about working with the Office of Equity and Inclusion, because in Austin, when I talked to the police monitor there, that's one of her biggest partners. So they do a lot of their reports together and a lot of other things. And then with arts and culture, I was really excited, because there's some other future projects that I want to do around arts and policing. And so I'm really excited to start that relationship with them. So, yes.
Any other comments or questions before we move on? Okay, we will move on to the monthly activity report. OCPO Director McClary.
Right. So if you look at our numbers, we are really cranking on complaints. So our numbers are really going up and up and up. And so as you see in October, we had 24, November 41, December 49, and in January we had 88 complaints. So somehow people are making their way to us and finding out about us, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's going to probably mean more appeals from you as people get responses back from internal affairs and from our office and aren't happy. We're also getting a lot of phone calls about people that are like, how can I meet with the board? How can I have the board look at my case? So I anticipate that you guys, we already have one person that I think one or two, maybe even three, if they actually send the appeal forms in, that want to potentially be put in front of you in March. So I'm excited about it. I'm not excited about it because that means maybe some bad stuff is happening between community members and the police, but I'm excited about the fact that somehow people are making their way to us and filing complaints. So our numbers are just going and going.
Any questions from the board in regards to the monthly activity report? All right, we'll move to board training schedule. So for the month of February, no training is scheduled so far. Wait a minute, did I skip something? Hold up. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, so for the month of February, there was no training scheduled. The only thing we had was in January, we had parliamentary procedure, which was 1 hour towards the end of our board retreat. Is there an update on the next training with DPD?
No, you all asked for April and May dates, so they've, with the promotions, some of the staff that I was working with are no longer at the academy. So I will be reaching out to the major to try to get that scheduled, so that should be, and I apologize, Chair, actually, you all had asked for that for this meeting. So I will have those dates. I'll send out a poll to figure out what dates people are not available in April and May, and then reach out to the academy. I also put down here, because this date is coming up, NACOL has already announced their 29th annual conference is going to be in Chicago, and they are doing a call for proposals for workshops. So they actually have had boards propose to do workshops before, so I'm not sure if this board is interested, but in case you were, I made sure I put that on there. The deadline is March 17th. So if this board, and sometimes what they'll do is that, say you all put in a proposal, and maybe a board from another city or whatever, a lot of times they'll combine proposals and ask the people to work together. So I didn't want this board to miss a potential opportunity. So if there's something that you all think you want to propose to do at NACOL this coming fall, the deadline is March 17th to submit any kind of proposals. And you all, this board, the CPOB, is a member of, a dues-paying member of NACOL. So all of you all of your names are included, so if you ever want to do their webinars, you'll get them at the discounted member price and all of that. And you can also participate in committees. I think that Vice Chair Rivas is on a committee with NACOL. They have a lot of really wonderful committees. So just for our newer members, if you don't know, all of you are paid through the office, paid members of NACOL.
Any questions from the board, comments? Director, I have some.
Chairman,
yeah, go ahead.
All I have to say is Chicago in November. Mm-hmm.
Hey, I survived Canada in January. Chicago, November is chilly. Yeah, it might, you might need a light jacket or so. Director, I do have, not specifically pertaining to this, is there a way that we could get, I guess, information on when the academy has their graduations, so that board members could, if they so choose, they could attend the academy? I think that would also go towards building some relationships between the board and DPD.
I think that's a great idea. Maybe we can even talk about it at tomorrow's meeting. I'm used to actually the monitor, and we didn't have a board where I was, so I'm assuming the board chair at least, but I think all the members being invited to the graduation, so I've kind of been a little like, oh, we would come and support you guys. So I think maybe we should definitely talk about that. I think it does go a long way to have members of the oversight there, as we are, as the people are coming out of the academy. So I would think that's a great idea. So I will, let's maybe broach it tomorrow, and then I can follow up with the academy staff.
Okay, yeah.
Because one of the things that I'm also proposing is I actually want to do a class on oversight in the police academy, so that as they're coming out, they will know what oversight is and things of that nature. So I'm going to be working with the academy staff to try to potentially develop a class on oversight.
Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question about the November conference. Mm-hmm. So it looks like the dates of the 12th through the 16th, again, comes on a second Tuesday. So can we put on the agenda next month to look for an alternative date for our November meeting?
Definitely, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, next is our update on board member community engagement. We spoke about Lemonade with Laurie, which was the which was District 15's participation. Great job, Mr. Davidson. And we can talk around the room in regards to any engagement that we've done. I know I was in Houston this past weekend for the Alpha Phi Alpha 59th Annual District Convention, and I was a moderator for a panel discussion which included State Rep Ron Reynolds out of the Houston area, newly elected Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and the Dean of the Senate, the senior most senior member of the Texas Senate, John Whitmire. And we talked about a lot of issues, but one of the things that was interesting is there were a lot of past general presidents from Alpha Phi Alpha that were in the room, and they were asking a lot of questions about police oversight and how things were going. And so it was kind of weird. Some of these men that I've looked up to that have led the oldest black Greek little organization, they were concerned and had questions about what we were doing here in Dallas. And so I, of course, gave them the Cliff Notes version of it. But yeah, we had a lot of good discussion about oversight, and a lot of brothers that live in the area were also interested in learning more about it as well. So had some good conversation, answered a lot of questions, definitely cleared up what we don't do, because since we're the only oversight board in this area, there are a lot of misconceptions on what we can do. Like, we can't sue the police department. We can't prosecute anyone. We're an administrative body, not a legal body. So it was good to have those conversations, and people were bold enough to ask those questions, because there's no dumb questions. The only dumb question is one that's not asked. So we had a very good time there talking about just what we do here.
Chairman, do you have those dates, or will you send them to me?
For
That you were there, so the second.
Oh, yes, it was February 9th through the 11th. Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can report on what Director McClary and I spoke about yesterday for District 9. So in working with Council Member Blackman, we are thinking of holding an event on April 22nd in the morning. And given that it's Earth Day, we thought we could involve other groups with us. So we wanted the police to be out there, but then as Director McClary and I were brainstorming, we thought maybe we involve the Office of Arts and Culture too, and the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And so really bringing this to be more of a community event that would involve us in trying to get our name and our work out there in the community. But just making it a bit bigger to bring all of our constituents and stakeholders together.
I think that's an awesome idea. And what's the date again?
April 22nd, and we are trying to do it between 10 and 12. And initially the thought is to do it at Samuel Brand, which I know is a place where a few different districts are close to. So if others are interested, let me know, Director McClary know, we can see how we can involve your district too.
Well, go ahead and count me in.
And I did reach out, Board Member Sanford. I haven't had a chance to give her this update. So we are going to be participating in Earth Justice. And so at least one of our departments is going to be tabling and doing the workshop. So they were like, oh, Tanya. I said, well, my board's interested. So this is the kind of thing is why I was excited. So maybe people wouldn't come out for oversight, but they would come out for Earth Justice, right? And then they're just going to happen to learn about oversight. So Board Member Sanford, I'll let you all know that too. So I'll get the dates of that conference, because they're going to be tabling and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that maybe we might be able to table with them, put some information out there about oversight or whatever. So apparently there's a big Earth Justice Conference. And so I'll get all the dates. I'm supposed to talk to the director of that department one day this week to figure out how the board might collaborate with his department, et cetera, so.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. And we're early enough to where we can, adjust as necessary, I think.
So, Director, don't forget, I'm in for the Earth Day. Yes.
I also count me in for that, because I represent 15, which is the city of Dallas, but I live in District 9, so I'd love to help out in ways that I can.
Any other comments, questions from the board?
Chairman, this Thursday, Chief Garcia is speaking in the town hall for my District 12, And I will be there. We're expecting a pretty good crowd. I'll be there and talk about the board when I'm briefly introduced, so I'm looking forward to that, hearing what the chief has to say to the district.
Indeed, I'm going to try to make it out to that as well. I may be a little late because I'm going to try to go to the healing event too. So, yeah, so. And then I got to figure out how I'm going to fit Ant-Man in.
And then Board Member Maples and I are going to be working on something too. His council district reached out. They really want to do something. And so I'll be working with Board Member Maples and his council district to try to figure out something. So stay tuned for that as well. They just reached out this week and wanted to try to figure out how they could do something.
All right, our upcoming meeting is March 14th, 2023. Per the Open Meetings Act, the agenda will post 72 hours prior. We will continue to work with our board members to ensure a robust and transparent agenda for all. And board members, I know I've said this before, I'm going to continue to say this. If you feel there's an item that needs to be on the agenda, let me know. Let me know. I don't want you to feel like this agenda is just driven by me. If you feel there's an item that needs to be on the agenda, let me know. Next, we have public comment. I want to remind our guests of the speaker guidelines outlined earlier in the meetings. Is there anybody in person or online that would like to give public comments?
Ms. McKendall, is there anybody online?
I can answer those. No, there's no one online.
Okay. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Allen Marshall, District 10, so moved.
You have a second?
Arlene Steinfeld, second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 8:28. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Thank y'all. Bye.
Yes.
Ms. McKendall, you can go ahead and end the WebEx, please.